So for more insight into the latest developments in the region, we now welcome Matthew Brodsky, a senior fellow at the Gold Institute for International Strategy, and he joins us from Washington. Matthew, thank you so much for your time today. So let's start with the latest in Saudi Arabia. This brazen attack on a civilian plane at an airport by Yemen's Houthi rebels, days after the US says it would move to strike the group from a terror blacklist. So break down for us the message being sent here and the impact it could have on the war in Yemen.
Well, all of these moves should be seen in the wider context of what is the issues between Iran and the Biden administration now that they're in power, which involves the nuclear program. The moves in Yemen, which this administration really sees this as the war in Yemen as being led by Saudi Arabia, in fact is a war led by Houthis, which are backed by Iran. And of course, Yemen is along the border with Saudi Arabia, so this presents a big threat to Saudi Arabia. Now, the fact is, the United States, by deciding to delist the Houthis as a terrorist organization, which the Trump administration had listed them just a few weeks before the end of his administration, that addition to the list was for a reason, and it's because the Houthis are operating at Iran's behest and engage in terror activity. So this is part of Iran's overall plan, which is to create a sense of crisis in the United States that the U.S. should take off sanctions toward Iran and then get back into the nuclear agreement. And from the Biden administration's perspective, rather than taking off sanctions, which it said it wouldn't, this is one of those ways it can signal a willingness to move toward Iran's position by handling the situation in Yemen.
And then, Matthew, the Biden administration also warning Yemen's Houthi rebels against ongoing attacks against civilians. Saudi officials so far are not commenting on today's attack. What kind of response would you expect from the kingdom, given the exact tensions you've been describing right now?
Well, the kingdom quite honestly knows that they had a much better friend in the White House with President Trump. Biden had pledged that he was going to be far tougher on Saudi Arabia. And this was also fulfilling for him, not just for Biden, his issues with Iran, but the desire among many on the left to punish Saudi Arabia, which I believe is a mistake. Now, it's a prudent maneuver for the kingdom to do, which is to remain silent on this. They're still trying to feel their way out with the administration, because from Saudi Arabia's perspective as well, yes, it's bad to have the Houthis threatening them from the south in Yemen, but the much bigger problem from Saudi Arabia's eyes is also Iran to the north.
Let's move now on to other developing stories in the Middle East, and many questions, of course, are being asked about a Biden-Harris administration, what that would mean for the Abraham Accords and future possible normalization deals. Antony Blinken has, of course, weighed in, sounding positive, but also adding they want to know and they want to make sure that they understand what commitments have been made in securing these deals. Your thoughts?
Look, I think anyone in the Middle East would be very much aware that there was a warmth in relations that existed in the Trump administration between Israel and between our traditional Sunni allies, talking Saudi Arabia, the UAE, Egypt, Jordan, much of the Middle East. That really does not exist in the Biden administration. These are mostly the same people from the Obama administration. And it's one thing to say that they support the Abraham Accords, but to withhold the UAE's deal for F-35 aircraft is a major problem. What the U.S. has done with Saudi Arabia is a major problem. So rhetorically, they're saying, I guess, much of the right things, but they're not really following through, which is unfortunate, because the Biden administration, I believe, is going to see that a coalition of Israeli and Arab states that really stand together and oppose Iranian entrenchment in the region and their nuclear program is going to stand in the way of Biden appeasing Iran and getting back into the nuclear agreement. And that's a complete flip from where things were with the Trump administration, who saw this type of alliance to be a strategic benefit.
It always was going to be interesting seeing how things changed after the Trump administration. Now, of course, with the Biden-Harris administration. Matthew, give us your sense. What do you make of the fact that Benjamin Netanyahu is still waiting for an official phone call from the White House? We know former Ambassador Danny Danon took to Twitter to ask President Joe Biden why he hasn't been in touch with what he called, quote, America's closest ally. Do you think there is an underlying power play as such, or a tactic here? How big a deal is this?
Well, look, I think on its surface level, it's a case of what's old is new again, right? Okay, so Obama and Netanyahu obviously had a frosty relationship, certainly much more frosty than there's a reason to believe that exists between Biden and Netanyahu. You always would hear from the Obama administration, well, our security contacts are very close and very tight. And you would hear people from the NSC would be talking. The Defense Department will be talking to their Israeli counterparts. Certainly that has been going on. And again, this is what they point to. But it's hard at this length of time since Biden has been in office that there wouldn't be an occasion just for any type of phone call. I think we've seen previously the Obama administration wanted very badly to get rid of Netanyahu. And remember, Netanyahu was prime minister of Israel before and during all 8 years of the Obama presidency, and obviously still today. Biden, I'm sure, has his own desire for what he would like to see in Israeli elections, and he's probably weighing his thinking as to how it would play in Israel if he looks like he's friendly with Netanyahu or not. I'm sure Biden would be happier with a different prime minister who was more pliable to America's interest as defined by Biden.
Well, we certainly appreciate your insights. A fascinating few weeks and months ahead in all these regions. Matthew Brodsky, Senior Fellow at the Gold Institute for International Strategy, live from Washington. Thank you so much for your time.